Today I want to talk a bit about Flare. Another question to the audience. Who knows Flare or who has been using it? Oh, perfect. So if I say some bogus, please correct me. So Flare is done by company 2D Dimensions, and it's basically an animation framework. It's quite generic, but we'll know later why. Here with this text, you can read what it is according to the 2 dimensions. It's on their website. I didn't want to come up with a new definition, so you can go there or check it here. There's a bit of fluff here, but there's one thing that is highlighted tightly. It's the vector. So Flare offers powerful real-time vector design and animation, blah, blah, blah. Why did I highlight vector? Because 2 dimensions have also a different product called NEMA. And when I was researching Flare, it was a long time ago, and there was the NEMA, and I was comparing the API. What does this do? How do we do it? And then they were the same. They were exactly the same. In one place I found, okay, vector and raster. So Flare is for vector graphics, NEMA is for raster graphics. Actually now on their website, when they are describing NEMA, it's raster, not vector graphics animation framework. So, if you already developed a bit with Flare or look at it, you know who he is. Do you know his name?
Yeah, Philip.
Probably you also know him.
Yes.
This is really Kracik. He's Czech, I suppose. And spokesperson, no, the developer.
So
advocate. Yeah, advocate. Yeah. So here, he's animated, of course, and he was trying to attend Flutter Live when Flutter 1.0 was coming out, but he got lost. He was somewhere in Silicon Valley and didn't know how to go to the conference. Eventually, as we all know, he ended up there, but here, poor Philip was lost. So, how do we achieve having Philip in our presentation, for example? It's not that hard. It's few lines of code. So, a widget, animation, and there is some path. So the path, of course, is to the Flare file, and the animation points which animation should be run. That's actually a cool thing about Flare, that an image or whole animation can have several different animations and can fluidly move from one to the other. This is actually a new thing in Android because Lottie is kind of animation framework, but I couldn't have seen such a feature. So let's try to decompose this Philip.flr. Tomek?
No?
Yes?
That's yours.
No, it's yours. So I can already, while it's being built, I can say that it is a semi-binary file. Why do I want to point it out? Because it's now yours.
No. Everything.
So why that didn't work? And now the Windows. Don't use Windows. On Linux it works.
If the code was written properly, it would work perfectly. That's probably, well, you see the, oh my god, no. Let's try.
So in release, when my helper will run it. Okay, so why is the semi-binary file quite important for me? Because you use Lottie probably. And what format does Lottie accept? JSON. Perfect. And Simon, do you think that JSON is a good data storage mechanism for animations? I also don't think so. So this is, as you can see, semi-binary because there are, for example, close, right. There are some nodes that are marked with strings. Probably it's for some simpleness for them, and then maybe they didn't have enough time to do, I don't know, IDs like in Android. But okay. So that was Philip, and we already know how to put him in the code. But most of us, they don't have a use case for actually the Philip, and we want to develop our own animation and put it in the code. I didn't want to force my designers to develop the animation for me because I wanted to go through the whole path myself. But this is the confession. I'm a software developer, consider myself semi-decent, but as for anything connected with art, so drawing, singing, dancing, animating, I'm horrible. I'm really, really horrible. I had the worst grade at school from this plastics thingy. So, having said that, this is the scary part. This is the scary part. Who knows what it is? More? Really? Nobody? Who has seen Moomin? You know what it
I
is?
forgot the name, but yeah, I know the guy.
It's in English Glock apparently. In Finnish, because Moomin is Finnish cartoon is Myrke. In Polish it's Buka. Sorry man. You should have known.
It's a very popular cartoon in Poland. Not in UK, they don't have it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I know why. Because this is really, it was really scary. It was really scary. There are two things why I chose this to draw. A, because I wanted to overcome my childhood trauma and face it. Because actually in the cartoon it didn't do anything. It was just roaming during the night. There was some mist and fog. It did nothing. Even the animation that I designed, beautiful with the mouth, it didn't do anything. It was just static. I think that it might have even been a nice thing, nice creature, but all children were really afraid of it. But children back then, they had imagination. Now they don't. They don't. They need something different stimuli. So you can see the beautiful animation, and I chose it also because it's not that hard to do. Despite that, I also had some problems. It took me something like 6 hours, majority of the time for the presentation. But then, you see the cursor, when you grab it and start patting it on the belly, it starts to smile. It's a blasphemy. It never smiled in the cartoon, but here, for the purpose of the animation, it smiles. So, how is it done? How was it done? Actually, Flair has an online editor for creating those types of animations. As you can see, it's quite simple. And it is really, really simple, maybe even too simple. So how do you create, for example, animation of Myrke? You create the borders, you create so-called the flesh from Bezier curves. There are a lot of control points on every edge of it. And then you put so-called bones. As you can see, those are lines connected with some kind of a hinge, which kind of is like a bone, or like a joint in a bone. And then you grab the control points and connect them with the bones. So when the bones move, also the flesh around them move. So basically they are similar to bones. As you can see, there is outside of it a bone. This usually doesn't happen unless you are severely injured. But it is used to control outside of the body. So you can here see that the buka is actually tilting its head. It is done by controlling the bones. Okay. There is a problem with the tool. Maybe I will now mention it, not later. It took me 6 hours to do this, not because I'm really crappy at it, but actually I am really crappy at it because I took a Wikipedia page with Buka, put it below my browser. In Linux, I could have reduced the opacity of my browser, so I could draw it on the top of the Wikipedia. But still, it crashed on me several times. I wasn't that happy with the tool, and you cannot really import anything from external tools.
Yeah, you can.
I saw something import, but those are just assets.
You can import the graphic. You can draw it in another package and import it. There is an import function for the graphic. So you can draw it somewhere else and then import it and then add the bones afterwards.
Okay, that's a huge improvement. I did it several months ago.
It's not easy to find though. It's not straightforward to find, but there it is.
Ah, I didn't need to check. I still cannot draw, but I need to check. Oh no, this is another difference. And its name is Teddy. Probably most of you already saw it because its original form is in the examples of Flare. You can compile and see it yourself. So don't fire yet your designers and hire me because the designers can make more decent work. And what does Teddy do? This is an example of a more complex thing. So he's standing as a protector of our page. So when you run to login, this will be a really long email, and even not correct. It's following what you are writing. It's really curious. And actually, it's even GDPR compliant. So now we can be he can be safe, not sued, and we know it won't be too long. I didn't want to make it too long, but actually this is I added this feature that it can. No, don't click more. Okay. And of course, when we try to sign in, this is incorrect password for Teddy, but it's a good visual representation. And the password, as I believe, was theirs. Yes, happy Teddy. So how was Teddy done? Because what's the difference between Philips and this guy? Because both have this defined animations, but how can he look at different points in the space? Flare exposes some more advanced API that you can get those control points from within Flare. So in this case, it's I think it's face, and then you get some places that you can transform those matrices, vectors, etc. I'm describing in a quite generic way because the API is not that nice. You need to do plenty of math. You need to calculate plenty of matrices, and it's not really straightforward. And how does he know where to look at the cursor? Basically, they get the render box, render object of the cursor, and then they can know where it is in the global space, and then they can map it into the Flare space. But it took them and took me to understand it a bit of time. So there is the repository, they call it Explore, and this is a way of you going and trying things out, because they actually have a business model of letting the company buy a space in this and not make their assets public. So if you don't care, if you want to show your drawings like I showed to the world, unfortunately, then you can go with the free tier. But if you want to keep your assets safe, then you need to pay them. That's actually a quite valid business model. I don't know if they get plenty of money out of it because the page didn't change at all since several months. And there is a bit of problems with finding assets that will totally fit you. There are not that many generic ones. For example, here you see Philip. You cannot reuse them. This one you also cannot reuse, but you can actually know how they are being made. And then there is a lengthy sampling. What's the good, the bad, and the ugly about it? The good, it's quite amazing. I haven't seen a framework that is similar neither on Android nor in Flutter. They try to do now Loki in Flutter, but they want to do it through Android, which is a crazy idea. I wouldn't advise that. What else? It's pure Flutter. That's the important thing. It's not a plugin, it's a package. So that's why I can, no problem, run it here on desktop. I think there might be some problems with web because web is still in technical preview. But how actually do they do it? That's quite, as an idea, it's simple. They have the package, which is the file. It has normal internal structures for the position of the things and then animation layers, so position over time. They load it into Dart. They transform it in their own object. They compose the animation layers. They have a render object that renders every frame depending on the time. And that's all. It's quite simple idea, but it's really nice. And they implemented the same thing in JavaScript. Basically, it's almost copy-paste code, but in JavaScript. And they have also in Unity. I didn't look in the other Unity code. It's quite nice. Okay, and what else? They have a nice blog. I didn't say great blog because it's quite just nice. They have descriptions how they did, for example, there is this house growing with extra rooms, how they did the Teddy example, but it's composed of 10 tutorials maximum. It would be nice that they had more. And the bad. The advanced API is not stable. So the API that allowed Teddy to look, but recently a bit broken. Because when I ran after a few months Teddy, the text was here, the cursor, and the Teddy was looking there. Like he never cared about the text. Why Teddy? Why don't you care? You grew up to be a teenager. You don't care about anything. Actually not, because yesterday I found it yesterday and I posted, or the day before, and I posted on their GitHub the problem that they removed one view transform, which they used to map the global space of Flutter to world space of Flare. So basically he thought that the cursor was there instead of here. So the advanced API is not stable. Still it works, and he will probably always work. But if you want to play around with it, I think it needs some more time. And they released it the same time it was Flutter Live, so probably they need some more time. Documentation is polishing with lower speed. So you are all used to Flutter and their amazing documentation. I don't need to read a book before falling asleep. I go to Flutter documentation and I started working with Symbian, and I can tell you stories with documentation saying documented but not implemented in the production code. But here in Flare, it's not up to the pair as for Flutter. In the main files, okay, but if you want to go deep, seeing the math library, how do they calculate this or this, no documentation whatsoever. Oh, the web tool needs love. Yes, plenty of love. Now we have the import, which is perfect.
It's SVG.
SVG. Ah, okay. SVGT or?
SVG. If you look up SVG files, you'll find standard.
Because usually the SVGT, etc., SVGs never work for me anywhere.
But it can't be too complicated. When we tried to import one that had a lot of points in it, it just went, bleh. No, I'm not having it.
Okay.
So we simplified, and then it was like, yeah,
Look at that.
the square.
Where?
No, well, you can do a little bit, but
Oh.
not like thousands of points.
Do you think that my example will still work, the buka or the groke?
Yeah.
It's complex enough. Okay, but anyhow, back then it crashed on me several times. I lost at least 2 hours of work, which was infuriating. Now I would need to try it, but I'm afraid. I don't want to waste that much time. I need to teach my designer to do that. And then the last one, the ugly. Last presentation I had my brother's picture here, but this time I will go easy on him. And nothing actually is ugly there. They have a really good idea, business model okay, but I think that they are going rather slowly. I didn't see that much traction with it, which I would love to see. I don't know why. Maybe Flutter doesn't have yet enough traction. So, this is the presentation link. You can quickly make a photo, or I can share it in the Meetup channel if you are too lazy to hold your phone. There's the groke. You can take it if you want. Use it in your code application. Okay, any questions?
You say on the free tier the things are visible to the public.
So once again?
You say on the free tier the things are visible to the public. What's the licensing like? Like if you what the licensing they apply by default to work that they make public?
I think, okay, you need to put your license there, but I think the default is really unrestricted, like Creative Commons or maybe even MIT. But there are two sections. There is public, like you can see, and there is that you can forkable. And then you can do whatever you want with it. Because when you mark it as forkable, you need to apply some good license.
Okay.
So even if you're on a free tier, you can say that you don't allow forking, and then other people will be able to view it, but they'll actually not able to fork it.
But I think they can see everything what's inside, the animations, the points, but they cannot really copy it into their workspace.
Okay.
Okay, on the third or second page, you showed small code snippet how the animation works on the code level. There was animation keyword with the idle value.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of values, like idle or the others, are already built in, or for
No.
example?
Basically, what you do in this web tool, you define the shape, and then there is other tab animation. So so you switch, and then you need to define what is the animation, and then what is the change of the values, the nodes over time. And then it's called, you can call it idle, and then it doesn't, Philip didn't do anything. But I did for the groke, I don't know, smiling and scaring. Two different, and then you can switch between them.
You said that advanced API, is this an advanced API which will allow you to animate from the code, or is it like telling you I can go to the specific frame of the animation?
You cannot provide it going to a specific tab. Okay, there is also advanced by, but basically it's a framework. It gives you hooked into, and then for example, you can say that you can mix this animation with this animation, because there is parameter for mixing animations, blending them together. Or there is, you can transform a node. So you extract a node, the eyes, for example, they are looking there. There is a vector pointing there, but you can amend it that it looks different based on the values. It's actually a lot of writing code and math code. So that's really advanced, and I don't know, I'm expected to be good at maths, but I'm a software developer.
I was thinking that actually having an animation that can animate, for example, eyes going from left to right, and then actually I know it's from 0 to 100, and I'm saying, okay, I'm 50%, 70%.
Oh, that's not that easy. That's not
that'll
that
be,
easy.
that'll be, that'll be easy.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. Any other questions?
Just a couple of points.
Oh no.
Sorry.
Hard questions, no.
Now I was going to say the import of SVG can be resolved with SVG Cleaner. It's an open source utility which will get rid of all the cruft from an SVG file so you get a clean import. Should solve that sort of problem.
But what is craft? What is the
Well,
addition?
the thing is, SVG is a massive standard, including CSS as part of it. So you just want to get rid of like lots of this stuff that you don't need. The other one is there is a outstanding ticket on in the Flutter repository about Scotty, S-O-K-K. I think it's S-O-K-I-T-T-I.
It's
the
Lottie
It's
code.
the Skier Lottie implementation, which
my-
exists in Skier, and it will add about 130 kilobytes to the current 4.3 megabytes of
Really?
engine code, and they're holding off on it at the moment because it's a big change apparently.
And do you need to provide JSONs as well?
Well, it means you can just put your Lottie files directly in your assets, and it will be done in machine code rather than going through the Android or iOS layers. So, thumbs up the issue.
Thumb down the issue.
Oh.
Please thumb down. Okay. Okay, thank you.